Hello folks, good to see you again. Today I have a strategy I've been testing for about a month, so plenty of data to work with there, and the results have been quite pleasing, so we'll go to that in a moment. But first I just wanted to thank you, those of you who sent your well wishes to my mother. She is back home now, still needs an operation, but is comfortable at the moment. And we have a consultation with another doctor in a little while to work out exactly the details of that operation. But back at home, happy, comfortable, and that's the main thing. So thank you to all of you who offered your good wishes to my mother. I know she appreciated those wishes as well. So thank you to all of you. So today's strategy, I'm looking at a system to lay the place. Now this is using a stopper to winner staking. I'm looking at favourites that are paying $1.60 to $1.99 on the place market. Now this generally means that they're the favourite, but they're not a particularly strong favourite. I'm finding that tends to result in a reasonable number of them not actually running a place. Now I'm doing this globally, so Australia, New Zealand, UK, Ireland, France, South Africa, USA as well, anywhere where there's a place market available. Now this might vary, I'm not sure, depending on your location, but if you're betting here in Australia at least, there's a place market for Australian horses, New Zealand, UK. Other countries seem to vary a bit, so I don't see a place market on every event in France, for example. I don't see a place market on every event in South Africa, for example. Same with the USA, I don't see a place market on every event there. I'm not sure if that varies depending on where you are, but I don't expect the results from this to vary much depending on where you are. If you are finding different amounts of markets in countries have different place markets, because ultimately I'm finding it's pretty consistent no matter where you are, where the race is for that matter. Not, as I said, not every race in France, for example, seems to have a place market available. However, the results on those place markets where they do exist are pretty much the same as what I'm seeing in the countries where every race does have a place market. So I don't think it makes too much of a difference. Just if you're in a country where you are actually getting more place markets available to you in more places, the only difference is you'll probably see a slightly quicker bank growth is what I expect would happen there. So let's go and have a look at what's happening in the software and show you some results graphs and see how that's all working. Okie doke, so we're in the Stopper to Winner Deluxe software for this one on the lay tab, because obviously this is a laying system. The settings themselves are actually pretty straightforward for this one. We're just looking at the place market. I'm only interested if the place market is 2 or 3 runners to be placed. There are some markets where it's 4 runners to be placed. If that's the only available place market, I don't want it. Not interested. That having 4 runners possibly making a place just, well, it does 2 things really. It increases the chances that your favorite is going to run a place, which is not what we want for the system. Secondly, it's going to be much harder to find something that's paying $1.60 to $1.99, so not worth the hassle. There aren't many of those anyway, but 2 or 3 to run a place, quite happy with that. $1.60 to $1.99 is the odds. As I mentioned, that means it is the favorite, but it's not a strong favorite. A lot of the time in a lot of races, the favorite is going to be $1.30, $1.40 for a place. If it's up at $1.60 plus, there's probably not a strong favorite, and that, as I said, does seem to give a reasonable chance of the runner not actually running a place. I'm keeping the time to do this at around 30 seconds before the race. As I've mentioned in other videos, I do vary this a little bit from time to time, so move it up or down a few seconds. And Another important one here, the minimum amount matched in the market. I'm looking at least 2,500 Australian dollars. If you're in the UK and you're looking at this in pounds, adjust accordingly. You'd be looking at somewhere around £1,200 probably. Place markets don't tend to have anywhere near as much liquidity as win markets. So 2,500 in a place market is generally a market that has pretty good liquidity. I wouldn't go any lower than that. You could go a little bit higher, maybe 3,000, maybe 4,000. I probably wouldn't go much higher than that. You go much higher than that and you're really going to start cutting out a lot of races, and that's probably not ideal. I really don't mind how many runners there are in the race. 1 to 25 is what I've got set. I mean, the Grand National on the weekend had, what was it, 32 runners? That said, I had a look at the odds out of interest in the place market before they jumped, and they were all over $2. So this system, even if I had this out at 32 runners to as a possibility, it wouldn't have been qualified for a bet anyway because all of the runners were over $2 in the place market. And that said, the favourite won the race, so that wouldn't have worked out very well anyway. I've been looking at 25-cent target per win, and it's stop at a winner staking, so it does. It's chasing that 25 cents per win. And as I'm doing with the tabs, I'm doing a bit of tab management just to set some milestones that I can monitor, and those milestones are a good place to then go and reset the software and maybe revise staking. So I'm looking at $5 per tab, total of $25 overall. I do see some spillover beyond the first 5 tabs into 6, 7, 8 occasionally. That's fine. I'm looking at total targets that's the equivalent of 5 tabs meeting their target. If I get a bit of spillover into the other tabs, that's fine. In fact, that's why I'm doing a total target of 5 times the tab target, is because especially place markets, they don't settle until an official result. So they don't settle until correct weight is declared on the race. And that does mean you end up sometimes with multiple races that you're dealing with at a time. So you are going to see sometimes that you will have a bet in tab 1 and another one in tab 2 and another one in tab 3 if it's a particularly busy period. If I had it set to only use the first 5 tabs, so I didn't enable the 6 through 10, or if I had my total target here as say $50 instead of 25, so I was expecting all of the tabs to reach their target, then you get the problem that once you get towards the end of the series, down here into these tabs, things slow down and it becomes very slow to reach the final target. By using a target of the equivalent of half the tabs, I might be looking at reaching the target here, but I get a few races in 6 and 7 and 8, and it helps to reach the target without slowing down. As soon as the software reaches that $25 target, everything stops. My stop loss is set at $100 per tab, so I would suggest that the balance you'd want to be working with is at least $100, probably more. In fact, probably 200 is the appropriate balance for these settings. You're probably looking up here at my current balance and saying, well, hang on, you're nowhere near that. You're right. I pulled a little bit of money out of the Betfair account the other day. I had some expenses that I wasn't expecting, and that was the easiest place to just pull some funds from at the time. So yes, I'm running at the moment at a lower balance than I should be with this system in place. But it's been a fairly consistent system, so I'm not too concerned by that. Nonetheless, as a safety feature, yes, you probably do want to have about double your stop loss, just in case. Loss count in this software, it will reset at either reaching the stop loss value or the number of losses in a row. The software defaults to 5. That's not going to cut it for this system. I've got it up at 50. It's never going to get that far because the $100 would kick in long before you get to 50. I've just got that so this number's out of the way. You do need to have a number in this box. If you don't, the software seems to treat it as a 0 and every loss just resets, which is very annoying. And then basically, I mean, every market, any non-handicap, any handicap, well, they don't actually count in the place market anyway because Betfair doesn't differentiate between those for the place market. I've got harness allowed anyway. I don't think Betfair actually differentiates for the harness for the place market either, so these boxes are actually irrelevant for the place market. Nonetheless, they're there as a reminder to myself that I am actually in every market. And then you'll see over here the markets that we're in today. Today is a Monday, so there's not going to be a huge amount of races in Australia and New Zealand, but there's Penrith, Maryborough, Albury, Bairnsdale, etc., etc. We get into the evening and we'll get some others. There's quite a few at Bendigo tonight. Overnight we start to get into the foreign markets. So we've got Kelso, Redcar, Windsor, Chantilly. To start with, there'll be more. The software will load more as the day progresses. If we have a look, I reached the profit target in this last on Saturday, and as I said, it's Monday now. So it's made $4.45 in a day and a bit. So it reset, I think, Saturday evening. And then, yeah, I reset Saturday evening, so it's had a little bit of Saturday night, it's had all of Sunday, it had a few races this morning. Have a look at the most recent results. You can see the last result was in France at 4:30 this morning. That was in fact a loss, but before that we had another race in France, and that was at 2:10. So there's actually 2 hours between races there. Nonetheless, that one won. In fact, tab 1 has reached its target in this time. As I said, we started here on Saturday evening, and by Sunday, late Sunday afternoon, 5:39 race, 5:40 race at Bordertown, it reached its target. It got to 5:25. For some reason, the cumulative profit in the individual tabs seems to count backwards, so it counts from the top down, which isn't quite right. The All Results tab does at least count the right way, so we're at 4:45. This made 5:25 by there. Tab 2 at the moment is down a little bit. It had an interesting start here. It had a few races in a row that it lost. It didn't manage to get its bet matched at Chepstow, so that one didn't count. It only got partially matched at Fontainebleau. Apologies, I'm probably butchering that pronunciation. It only got partially matched, so it didn't recover the entire loss there. Nonetheless, the software treated it as a win and just moved on. So this tab's a little bit behind the 8 ball as a result, but that's alright. It is digging out from there slowly. As I said, it's down $1.80 at the moment, but it is recovering. It's had quite a good number of winners here, as you can see. In fact, in this tab here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 losses, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins. That's not too bad. That's certainly more than enough to reach the target. This tab obviously had a better run. You can see the majority of these were winners. There's only a handful of negatives, and that's partially because there was some Saturday in there. Saturdays, as I've said, tend to be a little bit harder for the favourites. Sometimes Sundays as well. In fact, Sunday Australia New Zealand did okay there as well. Tab 3, you can see it's only had a few, but it's doing reasonably well. It's up $1 at the moment. Tab 4 hasn't got started yet. It looks like it tried to, but it didn't get matched in that, so it ignored it completely. So that's where that's up to here. If we have a look at the graphs that I promised you, I've got two graphs for you here. So here we've got the bet by bet graph, and this is each individual bet charted on here individually. You can see there's a couple little drawdowns here. There was one run here that did a little bit poorly, but it recovered before it hit the stop loss. Well before it hit the stop loss. It was down from there to there. That's about $30, $40, about 30 by the looks of that. About $30 there. Another little rundown after that, but then nice consistent bit of growth. This down bit here is actually where I reset the software and made a little mistake. I didn't fix that that value for the number of losses in a row to reset. So it had 5 in a row, and then it reset. So I had to change that after that back to the 50 that it's supposed to be. So it ate the loss there. Oh well. That was my fault for not looking at my settings properly before I started it. You can see fairly consistent, a couple tiny little drawdowns, one big one here. So we've come down from one big one here from 60 to 26. So it's about $33, 68 to 26, so about $40 there. But then it recovered, and it's been fairly consistent since. If we go and have a look at another graph, this one's looking at day by day, so you can see where the day started and ended, and the movement within the day, the highest and lowest value within the day. And on a day-by-day basis, you can see it's fairly consistent. You get some days obviously start higher than they finish, but overall it's fairly consistent. So that's where it's up to, and so far I'm quite happy with that. As I say, it's been running for about a month. Results are fairly consistent. I suppose the only thing probably worth noting there is that if you were to increase this bet size, the profit target per race, you might find it a little bit harder to get matched on some races because, as I said, there's not an awful lot of liquidity in the place market. So you're not going to be able to increase this by an awful lot more than this size before you start finding more and more of your bets aren't getting matched or aren't getting matched fully. Nonetheless, if you're willing to take a slow and steady approach and just have a little bit of extra income coming in on the side, this system is quite handy in that way. So there we go. It's a slow system, but it seems to be fairly consistent. Over that month, as we saw, there are only 2 really runs that were a little bit concerning, and they recovered quite quickly. But it seems to be a fairly consistent system. $80 over a month, it's not much, I'll admit that. It's, as I said, it is a slow system, but at the same time it was quite a small bet amount. The target there per race, 25 cents. So, you know, if you're running, say, $1 target per race, then you'd be looking at something closer to $320 in the month. It's not a huge amount, but it's consistent, and that's a good thing there. It's not a roller coaster ride. It doesn't get a lot of bets every day, which probably helps the system a bit, because if it did get a lot of bets every day, I'd be a little bit more suspicious of it being more prone to some difficult runs. But in this case, it's a fairly straightforward up line on the graph, so I'm quite happy with that. I'm hoping to have another system for you towards the end of the week, which at the moment is working well for me. I'm still monitoring it, still testing it. We'll see how it goes. I'm hoping to have something new for you at the end of the week. We'll see what happens there. Until next time, there's links in the description below, of course, and look forward to seeing you again. Bye.